California has passed legislation allowing transgender inmates in the state's correctional facilities to be assigned housing based on their gender identity. In September, California Governor Gavin Newsom signed Senate Bill 132 into law. California now joins Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York City, and Massachusetts in recognizing inmates' gender identity. So, State Senator Scott Wiener, a Democrat from San Francisco, is the author behind the bill and joins us now. So, this is quite a change, quite an evolution in the understanding of what it means to be transgender. So, talk to me about this law and what it means for transgender inmates.
Yeah, thank you for having me. SB 132 and the whole idea is to make sure that we're treating transgender people in prison or anywhere with the basic dignity and respect that they deserve, and to acknowledge that if you are a trans woman, you're a woman. If you're a trans man, you're a man. And in particular, right now, trans people are automatically housed pursuant to their birth assigned gender. So trans women are automatically placed in men's facilities. And we know nationally that trans women are at extremely high risk of brutal assaults and sexual assaults in prison. And so this will help them be safer and will be a more humane and modern approach to our understanding of gender.
So based off of your interactions with some of those inmates, what do they say they've experienced behind bars while being misgendered?
Well, it's a spectrum. We actually went into the prisons. We met with trans women, trans men, and also cisgender women. And what the trans women in particularly tell us is it can range from smaller things like using the wrong names, wrong pronouns, to sort of more insulting kind of behavior, to being raped, being badly beaten. And just being badly stigmatized. And a lot of times the trans women they'll stick together to try to defend each other, but they shouldn't have to do that. And so this will not force trans people to transfer to the facility corresponding to their gender identity, but give them the option to do that if they think that that's going to be safest for them.
That's really interesting. I want to sort of dig down a little bit deeper into just exactly how it works. You are an inmate, or you're about to be processed, I guess, and so you say, look, I identify as a woman, or I identify as a man, and then where does it go from there? Because I really don't know, are there special units within prisons, or are individuals, do they go into sort of the general population? How does it work?
Yeah, so we don't have special, transgender only jails or prisons. Mm-hmm. This is right now they're in the general population in either a men's or women's facility, and that will remain the case. And so they will be able to, whether they're going through intake, and they'll be asked what their gender is, what their gender identity is, and then that'll have to do with their choice for housing, and also for what gender guards will search them. And then if someone is an existing inmate, then they will be able to go to the prison authorities to express that. The bill does have a narrow flexibility for prison officials. If there is a specific security concern for a particular inmate, then the prison system can deny that transfer, but it has to be a very specifically articulable security concern specific to that inmate.
How open?
It can't be a generalized concern.
Senator, let me ask you, how open and collaborative has the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation been to the idea of this law? Are there any loopholes?
No, they've been very open, and they work very closely with us. And Governor Newsom, who has long been a champion for the LGBTQ community, made clear early on that he wanted us to work with prison officials to work through the details, and wanted to see a bill on his desk. And so we spent a lot of time with prison officials, and they had some senior people there who were very progressive and forward-looking on these issues. And they made clear to us that they wanted a law because that just makes it more formalized and more binding. But if we didn't pass a law, they would eventually do this administratively. So they were committed to the issue, and we actually went, we traveled to prisons together with prison officials and trans advocates to meet with people in prison. In addition, the prison agency, CDCR is called, worked with the trans advocates and came up with a survey for transgender people throughout the prison system to fill out so we could get data about their experiences and what they perceived. And it was very, very helpful, and it was a really strong process.
So Governor Gavin Newsom also nominated Martin Jenkins to the California Supreme Court on Monday, which would make him the court's first openly gay justice. Explain why this nomination is so significant and what it could mean moving forward when it comes to future legislation, if he does get on the bench.
Yeah, so it was a huge step. I've known Justice Jenkins for a long time. I was a practicing attorney in San Francisco for 15 years when he was a federal district judge, and then Governor Brown put him on the state court of appeal, and he's just an exceptionally qualified and respected jurist. And I chair our legislative LGBTQ caucus in the legislature, and we had urged Governor Newsom early on, before the pandemic, because it got delayed because of the pandemic, to please appoint an LGBTQ justice. We've never had one. Our community is severely underrepresented in the judiciary, particularly at the appellate level. And to appoint Marty Jenkins, who's so qualified, who's a gay man, also, to appoint a black gay man in a period of time where we are trying to grapple with, 400 years of structural racism, and black gay men in particular had a really bad time in this country. It just sends so many positive messages about the direction of our state. And once again, whether it's trans people in prison or this appointment of Marty Jenkins, Gavin Newsom, who I've known for 20 years, back when he was a member of the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco, is someone who gets it when it comes to the LGBTQ community, and is just one of the best allies we could ever have.
It was so surprising to me to read that he was the first. Because it's 2020, but it is wonderful.
So
it is wonderful to see that. Before we let you go, Senator, I wanted to get a pulse on the state's response and handling of the wildfires. What updates can you share with us?
It's like nothing I've ever seen. I'm in San Francisco, so I'm south and southwest of where the really bad fires are. But we're all interconnected, and we see it because the smoke comes into San Francisco, and I talk to my colleagues, and I know a lot of people who live in those areas. I know people whose homes have been burned down or who have been evacuated. We've always lived with wildfires in Northern California. This is just 3 times above and beyond. 4 million acres burned in a single year, smashing all records. The largest wildfire in California history. It is getting worse and worse, and it is just another punch in the face reminder that we have to do things dramatically differently now in terms of climate change and reducing our reliance on fossil fuels and moving towards clean energy and letting people live closer to where they work so they're not spending hours on the road putting carbon in the air every day. And we have to do more with forest management. And unfortunately, a majority of the forested land in California is owned by the federal government. So when Donald Trump lectures us about, improving our forest management, he needs to look in the mirror too. So we need a better partner in the White House so that we can work together to improve our forest management. But we have to take climate change more seriously. It's an emergency, and we need to act now.
All right. State Senator Scott Wiener, thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
For more on gender identity, you can watch the CBSN original Gender, the Space Between on cbsnews.com/gender.